It's been a week since I've done a video for Brave New Coin. Hopefully everyone had an excellent Thanksgiving break here over the past week. Let's take a look at some stuff that's happened and some setups for this Setup Monday. So we had a bit of excitement in the VIX, which is this line chart in the background here. VIX is the volatility index, and in general, I talk about this on my legacy videos on Thursdays, but if the VIX is spiking or rising, then we are bearish on crypto because crypto is risk on. And if we are rising in the VIX, that generally means a risk off environment. It can be leading, it can be lagging, it can be super correlative, but the bottom line is we're not going to be bullish if the VIX is spiking. So over the past few days, 5 days or so, we had some new information on the coronavirus front. I'm not going to get into conspiracy theories or vaccine garbage about anything. All I'm looking at here is what happened and what is currently happening. So we had news of this new variant in South Africa, which may have just been detected there first, not necessarily seen there first. And these tweets are Walter Bloomberg on the back and some Zero Hedge and some other guy named Walt, which is ironic. But Walter Bloomberg has really good breaking news at Delta One as his Twitter. But we can just see how this has progressed over time from new variant, possibly more shutdowns, to not so much a concern potentially, to kind of a wait and see mentality. The WHO has kind of went back and forth, the WHO, World Health Organization, whether or not this is a big deal. Fauci back and forth on whether or not this is a big deal, whether or not we need new mandates, lockdowns, blah, blah, blah. And then Biden saying no real need for concern just yet. So they didn't come out of the gate with we need lockdowns, it's a big deal. Of course, all the vaccine manufacturers are saying they can produce a new vaccine rather quickly, which is great, but also has a conflict of interest. So anyway, I'm not going to get into that. But and then additionally, now we're seeing more and more that maybe this isn't so big of a deal so far. At least, you know, we can't predict the future with this sort of stuff. But the biggest concern here isn't even this variant. It isn't the past 65 variants. It's the next 10,000 potential variants, where eventually one of those, just like any other swine flu or any other rapidly mutating virus, will be the one, right? Nobody wants to get that far. Nobody wants to progress it that far. I don't know if we can even stop this at this point in our lifetime. Whether or not it matters to you or not is another story. But the concern isn't anything that's happened so far for me as someone who has a background in biotech. The concern is what's happening in the future. Because yeah, everything's been fairly mild for most people so far. Obviously, that may be a mega understatement for certain populations, but it's very much less about what has happened. And the bigger concern is always what can happen. And really the best case is this is just some flu-like thing that is just around forever and never really progresses. And the worst case would be some sort of mega variant, right? That just is super lethal, super contagious. You know, we don't want to progress to that point. But the more we give opportunities for the virus to mutate, the more chances. You know, we keep rolling the dice. Okay, this one's fine. Okay, let's roll the dice some more. This one's fine. Okay, let's roll the dice some more. This one's worse, right? We don't want to be a population that gives opportunities for the virus to keep throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks, because that's what's currently happening. So it's good that we are not concerned with this. It's good that we are taking ourselves off the edge of the cliff, rather. And the VIX is quieting down here. ES, SPX stocks doing well. And this is completely impartial to just stocks being at mega all-time highs anyway and ready for some pullback. This is very much a microcosm of what's happening in a multi-year bull market there. Thought it'd be a good day as we approach December to bring out the quarterly price chart for BTC and ETH. BTC already, you know, I didn't even realize this. I just thought Q4 was gonna, you know, in my head, it's kind of like Q4 is a bust because we're not mega mooning. But in reality, if we close at this price January, we are doing excellent in the grand scheme of things. Maybe not for Q4. The average for Q4 is around 60%. Excluding this quarter, it's around 63. But point is, we've already done pretty well, really. I just want us to do better. I think we have opportunity to do better. I think we will do better for the next month. I'm currently positioned that way. I'm not positioned for mega downturn. I don't think there's a cause for concern to that degree just yet in crypto land. So BTC is doing fine. It's an average for the year is 30%. You can see it's on par for what's been the mean for many years. So this isn't anything crazy here. We are a bit under as far as the mean post 13 for Q4. So yeah, we could potentially really take off based on historical seasonality, right? But if we close here now, it wouldn't be so bad. For ETH, kind of the same thing. What really astounded me, and I didn't realize, ETH has not had a negative quarter, negative anything since Q4 2019. That's astonishing to me. So 2020 and 2021, if we close here today on ETH, already have 48% on the quarter, second best quarter this year. Definitely not as exciting as Q2, 3, 4 of 2020, where things really took off. And Q4 for ETH has been mixed historically. You can see just the data here. It's not been as bullish as a Q2, which is a slam dunk, no contest, always bullish. And you can see the averages here for Q4 aren't great compared to Q2. So it's kind of already doing sort of better than you'd expect it to do for Q4. So again, if we closed here right now for ETH at the end of the year, it would not be a disappointment in any degree for a quarter. And you're actually beating expectations here by closing at 48%. Not a lot of data here, we can go into that. But just based on what we have, ETH already doing pretty well. And on ETH BTC, something that I said and continue to say is that ETH BTC has never had a positive Q4 ever. Never, ever, ever. Until potentially this quarter. If we close at this price for ETH BTC for the quarter, it would be the first positive quarter, Q4, ever for ETH against BTC. As we stand now, I think the ETH BTC chart is one of the best, if not the best looking charts. And I'll talk about that in a second. In all of crypto, the chart looks mega primed for an easy move to 0.1. No doubt about it. It looks super bullish to me. And I think a lot of people. So we got a month. Time's running out. The clock is running here. We got to do something. We got to get moving. We've been consolidating for a long time. As bullish as these Q4s have been for both BTC and ETH, this stuff really has to start moving. And for me, I'm not concerned about BTC in any way, shape, or form, so long as we stay above the midline of the range. This is a pitchfork. You pick 3 points, you get a rate of change. Midline for this range is this yellow line here and this gray-brown area as well, more of a kind of standard deviation. That's not the technical term, but that's how I like to think about it. The deviation from the mean anyway. And as long as we're above the midpoint here, we're definitely more bullish than bearish. If we're below, we're still bullish as far as the rate of change goes, but we're not as bullish as we could be if we're above here. And it's real simple. If we hold this midline, a 100K plus target is more likely than unlikely. And just like any mean reversion target, you'll see this tap the midline fairly often, especially on a multi-year pitchfork. This dates back since 2019, but I wouldn't believe in this if it didn't already bounce around several times, tap this midline, sort of get held in this range even. You can say, okay, this is pareidolia, this is whatever, I don't care, it doesn't matter to me. Because for me, this is the effective rate of change that the market is accustomed to since 2019. That's another way to put it. So yeah, I like that target so long as we hold this level. Is that going to be by the end of the year? Can we hit 140 in 30 days? I'm not so sure. If we look at some other messy stuff on the chart here. So this is the pitchfork with fibs here and yearly pivots. Yearly pivots really like 97.5 as far as the R5 yearly pivot. Generally, most things don't exceed the R5 yearly pivot. Most alts did this year. ETH certainly did this year. Anything that has multiple years of trading typically doesn't. Typically, the R5 is kind of as good as it gets, or as good as the expectation for the year. These print January 1st. So we'll get new pivots in 2022 for the year, but I like that as a target. I like that we have held above the cloud-ish so far. We had a bit of a scare here with a potential edge-to-edge move. I know that's harder to see, but we dipped into the cloud, didn't have a bearish TK cross just yet. Kind of a similar situation to here. We're still not out of the woods. This is still very much part of the decision tree. We could go and bounce up and then have a bearish TK cross back into the cloud. And there's your move for the quarter down. This is what you don't want to see if you're bullish, obviously. You don't want to see this bounce and die. That's what you don't want to see. You want to see this bounce, maybe make a bearish TK cross, and then maybe recross the following couple weeks. I don't know if we have enough time left in the quarter to do that. And I'm saying all that because I'm assuming Q1 is just going to be bearish. That's just an assumption. That could be wrong, but historically, seasonality, Q1's usually bearish. Even for ETH, if we look at this, as I was sort of looking at it a second ago, do I expect another 160% in Q1 for ETH? No. And really, since 2018, most of these quarters have been tame or negative. And I really wouldn't count this. Q1's kind of a mess as far as what you'd expect. I don't expect mega insanity again for Q1. That's not my baseline expectation anyway for ETH, but I assume seasonality is going to hold. I assume it's going to respect the end of the year stuff. I assume this is going to rise. I assume there's going to be a breakout to the upside. Now, there are charts that look better than others. ETH looks better. Some other charts look better. But I still would expect, if we do break up, this is the target. This is the fib target. This is the easy expectation from 86 to 100K. That's a big range, but that's the 1618 to the measured move of the previous high and this range low. That would also be some diagonal on the pitchfork, right? That doesn't matter to me as much. Still within the pitchfork, this is the blow off top expectation, 140 to 160. But trend metrics remain bullish still. This is the 1050 EMA. I talked about this somewhere a few days ago, but historically on backtesting, this has an excellent hit rate. So even if you're long on every cross up and short on every cross down, you're going to have some hits and misses here, as with anything, especially anything that's faster. But the point here is that we're potentially crisscrossing again on the 1050, setting up for bullish trend continuation. And on the 4 hour, if we're above 61.5 on the cloud, then for me, that's game on. Ideally, you want to wait until the cloud is flipped bullish again. And you can say, yeah, okay, that didn't exactly go anywhere last time. But the cloud isn't telling you to expect a mega move on every bullish Kumo breakout. It's just telling you the conditions are ripe for bullish continuation if we're back above that level again. So that'd be a level to watch on a lower time frame, certainly at around 61.5. For ETH, the call is simpler. The TA is simpler. The pitchfork is less confident because we haven't had a ton of moves to the midline, up, down, around, whatever. But again, we pick 3 points, we get a rate of change with the cloud on here. This thing has been bullish. I can't even get the words out since October, and it hasn't really pulled back significantly. I'm not expecting a significant pullback. If we take the fibs and just map it out, we get a level of 6 to 7K. And in the pitchfork terms, that's extremely mild. That doesn't even tap the midline. This thing hasn't tapped the midline, so you probably just throw the pitchfork out at this point until it does tap the midline. You can't expect this stuff until it fills it in. So it has held in the pitchfork so far. It does have a bullish TK cross. It is above the cloud. Trend metrics love it. I don't think we have enough time left in the year to have a crisscross in the daily TK, but that'd be something to watch for, like happened here from September to October. Bearish TK cross into a bullish TK cross into bullish continuation. I don't think we have enough time for that. I think this thing's just going to go if it starts knocking on highs again. And when it does that, it'll probably drag BTC with it. I don't think BTC is necessarily going to move on its own. I think the alts are going to move around it. At least that's what's happened so far. And then if we add the MA multiplier onto this, the midline for ETH, this is the 1 year MA multiplier. So the 1 year MA is here. The 5x multiple is here. The midline is here. You can see just how crazy we got already in May, right? We tapped that 1 year 5x multiple. So I'm not going to expect that again by the end of the year. That would be a crazy, insane target. But midline is not out of the question, which is around 7,300. And really, it's just a number. We can say that's ETH would be X market cap. We could say all these sorts of things. I don't think that matters, really. I'm just looking at math here, and that's lining up for decent confluence to those levels. Am I going to expect anything beyond that? No. I'll take 6, I'll take 7 to expect 8, 5, 10 plus. Would certainly be greedy, not out of the question completely, but I'll believe it when I see it. But I do like the 6 to 7K level by the end of the year. ETH on the 4 hour has broken out again on the cloud. The last breakout got smacked down super hard, but this was also around the same time that the VIX spiked. So a little bit of a correlation on that, but where's the chart? If we go back to this, again, the cloud is telling you, okay, you don't expect a mega multi-week, multi-month move off this. That's not what this is telling you. It's just telling you the conditions are getting ripe for a bullish continuation long signal, or bullish, the start of something bullish, right? Ultimately, you want to wait for bullish cloud, bullish Kumo twist is what it's called, to be super patient with it. And you can see how that, this is, textbook. You get taps on the Kijun, you get TK crisscross insanity, right? This is not normal. This is something that is a gift when you see it, and it's just set and forget it easy mode. We're not there yet, but it's telling you we're getting close. We're getting close as we get back above the cloud again. There's also some pattern here. I don't know what this is. I see it often enough to know that I've seen it before, but it's not super common. I think people call it like the bat signal or something. It's like a distorted inverted head and shoulder triple bottom thing, because you're getting the shoulders lower than the head. But anyway, I'm not saying this is bullish or bearish. I'm just saying there's something there that I've seen before. But on trend, this looks good on the 4-hour. And the 1050 on the daily never even crossed bearish. So again, trend metrics are telling you this thing is fine for bullish continuation. As messy and choppy this has been over the past week, this looks fine to me. And here's the ETH-BTC chart. And it's real simple. Instantly, I can tell you that, yeah, this looks like an ascending triangle. That's how it's looked for many weeks now. It took a while to get there. It took a while to show its true colors. It was touch and go, M double top, inverted Adam and Eve, and then it just kept making higher lows, and that's what it needed to do. So it's back at this 0.75, 0.77 level, and the expectation is easily 0.1. This thing could go much higher than that. That's not an expectation, but 0.1 would certainly be within the realm of realistic possibilities, based on previous all-time highs, based on chart pattern, measured move, markup, white coffee, and whatever, right? We can name all these things that show confluence. None of them are bearish. None of them tell you ETH isn't going to outperform BTC here. This looks really good. RSI looks good. Everything looks good, which is why I moved the ETH BTC fund on Enzyme to basically 80-20. Right now it's 78-22, but I took that trade a couple days ago, and you can just see all this 4 days ago. Because I've been watching and following this and saying, okay, now's the time. If this thing is going to actually move against BTC, if it's going to break the quarterly expectations, this is the best it's ever looked in Q4 against BTC, hands down. So this looks incredible to me. In a vacuum, looks incredible on all cylinders. DeFi against ETH continues to look weaker and weaker and weaker. This is the DeFi Perp against ETH, which is pushing all-time lows as we speak, and it had a chance at a bullish Kumo breakout here. This is basically a trend flip. It had a chance at some sort of bottomy type thing. It still has a bullish div. It's just a continuous bullish divergence as we're getting lower lows on less and less momentum. But that isn't going to save you from pushing all-time lows. You might say, I won't short this here, but it certainly isn't screaming a buy as it's below cloud. It even has like intraday head and shoulders patterns in here. It just there's nothing bullish that looks bullish here at all yet. So against ETH, DeFi I think is still in a bit of trouble, and potentially even alts are in trouble here against Bitcoin. I don't know. It's still very much an if this then that situation. This could still very easily be a triple bottom inverted head and shoulders on dominance. Not something I like charting, but if this can get an inverted head and shoulders, and if this can break the 200-day moving average, it's certainly possible for Bitcoin to outperform alts. If that's the case, then that would mean that this would probably be a failed pattern, or this would just wick to 0.1 and immediately get denied. I'm ready to trade all those possibilities. But as we sit here right now, you have to say, this looks incredibly bullish. I'm going to be longer on ETH than BTC. DeFi looks not good against ETH, and dominance is potentially bottoming, but certainly not definitively in a reversal type breakout position just yet. And that's just where we sit today. And we can look at the DeFi Perp individually as well. This thing has still done rather well. It's above the cloud, has a bullish TK cross. This will probably flip bearish over the next day or two. And again, you're watching for this TK crisscross, which will give you the signal for likely bullish continuation. Still above the 200, still above the VPVR. I don't think there's any cause for concern here just yet. You don't want to see this thing break down below 11K, below 10K. below the cloud, below the 200, below the VPVR, back into the range. We're not there yet. So I think so far this still looks okay. This probably does have time to crisscross in December, and you may see some late. I'm talking like the last week, the last seconds of December into the first week of January, where you get this mega blow off rotation in alts, and then everything dies for 4 months or 3 months or whatever it is. We've seen that before. I could certainly see that happening again. Just a few other alts real quick. Binance still looks phenomenal to me. Again, you can't expect this to break down. Trend metrics are bullish. Chart patterns are bullish. Fibs are very clear as far as where this is going to go at all-time highs. Yeah, I know it's Binance. Yeah, I know they have all sorts of legal pending stuff. You know, the chart is the chart. I'm not going to say this looks bearish by any means, despite what's going on in a legal regulatory landscape sense. You just can't short this. This should go to 1,000 this quarter. End of story. That's just how it looks. Solana, not as clearly bullish, but trend metrics are still good on the daily. You can see it tap this mean reversion, and it already basically hit the fib levels. You could argue Adam and Eve here, VU, that may have some breakout stuff, but I'm certainly less bullish on things that look like this in that they haven't consolidated for months and months and months, versus something like Binance that is very clearly breaking out of consolidation. I mean, this looks like Tesla before it had its mega moon. Almost identical. ETH, very similar as well. Where Solana has just kind of been pushing, and charts like that tend to have a lower likelihood of just mega breakout type stuff. But it still looks fairly bullish to me. 12-hour will start to look better as this flips above the cloud with a bullish TK cross. That's probably where I would watch it if I was actively trading this. This may morph into an inverted head and shoulders. Like, it's got all sorts of possibilities left here, none of which are bearish breakdown end of cycle type stuff. It still could reach for this level again based on fibs here. So it definitely doesn't look bearish. I just don't think it looks as bullish as some of the other stuff. And here's a teachable moment for Cardano. Still below the cloud. I would not buy this. You know, there are charts that you buy when they're neutral. There are charts that you buy when they're bearish. There are charts that you buy when they're bullish. This fills none of those buckets. It's got no patterns here, no divs here. This could bounce to $6 from here, and I could be completely wrong, right? But the cloud is telling you, no, this is not a long yet. Your long is when it's back above the cloud. Okay, that's insta split second. That's all I need to know. Even Ripple looks not terrible. You know, imagine if Ripple goes to $3 this cycle. It makes me sick to my stomach, even thinking that that's a possibility. But again, this is in a mega consolidation. The likelihood that this thing moons is certainly higher than something that has mooned already, right? Like Solana, which is up 10,000 billion% in the year. On trend, it's a mess because it's been ranging for so long. It's kind of in and out of the cloud, bullish, bearish, TK cross, blah, blah, blah. But if this thing can get back above this 110, 130 level, if there's some clarity on what's going on with the lawsuit, if this gets relisted in a bunch of places, like I can see the roadmap as to how this thing gets back to the all-time highs this quarter and then just mega dumps. I can see that. I don't want it to happen, but again, the chart's the chart. I'm not saying that isn't a possibility here. Really, what you don't want to see is any lower lows at this point with this chart. If you're bullish XRP, DOT on the 12-hour also doesn't look bullish. Doesn't look as bearish as ADA. Certainly doesn't look as bullish as Solana or ETH or BTC or Binance. But again, if this thing perks back above the cloud, I like this 70 to 80 level by end of year. No bull div just yet here either. That's something to watch for. I think this has a late rotation chance. Not this week, but late quarter, so end of December, early January, to hit that target. And then lastly on AVAX, this thing, again, like Solana, just keeps going. Is it fair to expect this thing to continue to mega moon week over week? If you're a bag holder or if you're a VC who loves this for whatever reason over something else fundamentally, I get it. I understand it. It looks fine for continuation. It wouldn't be my first choice because, again, it's already moved a very large percentage since July. That isn't to say it can't keep going. It's just a numbers game. It's a probability game. It's a percentage game. Did have a really nice TK bounce here, or Kijun bounce on that mean reversion there. And the fib target would be 200. So $200 AVAX, not out of the question. So really in the top 10 coins, I don't really see anything bearish except Cardano. I'd leave that alone personally. They're just better charts to trade. Do you want to trade something that's pre-breakout, or do you want to trade something that's in a bearish trend? It's just binary. That's all it is. And lastly, I'll just mention the ETH BTC fund and DeFi portfolio I trade for Technic Capital and Enzyme Finance, a non-custodial portfolio management tool where you can send ETH or USDC or just watch what I'm doing. You can see everything, including AUM performance, allocation, all the trades I make in the trades tab down below, as well as the deposits and withdrawals of individuals in and out of the fund or portfolio. That's all I have for this one. Like, dislike, comment, share, subscribe, and happy trading.